Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. A Bennington woman facing prison time for her role in a crash that killed a man in eastern Nebraska last year. 23-year-old Madison Hack pleaded no contest to a motor vehicle homicide DUI count in Saunders County District Court on Monday. 3 other charges were dropped. The conviction stems from an investigation into a crash south of Meade that killed 23-year-old Bryce Buds of Ashland. Hack was hospitalized for months after the crash and turned herself into authorities in February. She faces up to 20 years in prison when she's sentenced in October. I-80 back open in Kearney after a multi-vehicle wreck shut the highway down before sunrise. The Nebraska State Patrol says the accident involved 4 different vehicles on eastbound I-80 near Kearney Tuesday morning. No word yet on what caused the crash, which closed eastbound traffic for about an hour. Authorities tell us the crash resulted in only minor injuries. Nebraska's state auditor says they found millions of dollars of improperly paid out child care benefits. State Auditor Mike Foley said in a report issued Tuesday morning that an audit of the Department of Health and Human Services turned up hundreds of cases of daycare providers exploiting the DHHS by overbilling and getting improper payment for services. The price tag? About $12.8 million worth of billings over a 9-month period that may have been fraudulent. Some of the examples given included daycares submitting for care on days they weren't open, including on Thanksgiving, and some billings that exceeded the 60-hour per week cap. In a statement on Tuesday morning, DHHS CEO Steve Corsi said they're working to retrieve the funds that were improperly dispersed and have begun an investigation into an unnamed daycare provider. Well, Beryl slammed into Texas Monday as a Category 1 hurricane, leaving at least 7 dead in Texas and another dead in Louisiana. Power knocked out to millions in 3 different states as the storm brought devastating winds and flooding with it. Now, the region has to deal with heat alerts as they try to clean up. Lee Waldman is in hard-hit Houston with the latest.
Whipping winds, torrential rain, toppling trees and turning roads into rivers. Beryl struck the Texas coast Monday as a Category 1 hurricane, packing a deadly punch.
This one just felt different. It intensified right as it was nearing the coast. The surge came up so quick. It literally came up in a matter of minutes.
Dramatic scenes showed people being pulled from cars, stranded in rising floodwaters, and homes crushed by trees.
All that rain came down, and everything said boom, it fell right on my neck, and they hit them in their head. And everything, but it hit my neck and my back.
As Beryl marches on, it left millions without power as dangerous heat descends on the region. A heat advisory is in effect Tuesday for southeast Texas, where the heat index could hit 105 degrees. The National Weather Service in Houston said the lack of proper cooling combined with many people outdoors cleaning up after Beryl could produce dangerous heat conditions. In Houston, where almost 1 million are without power, the mayor vowed Texas utility company CenterPoint Energy is working hard to restore power.
CenterPoint is doing everything they can. They've brought in 10,000 additional personnel from around the state and in the nation to assist us. We will get your power on as quickly as possible.
In Harris County, Texas, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
Meanwhile, it was on this day 5 years ago that floodwaters rushed into Buffalo County, inundating the city of Kearney. The flash flood, the greatest the city had ever seen, caused more than $70 million worth of damage and took until this year for emergency management officials to finally consider mitigation efforts complete. Fortunately, no one died in Kearney and there were no severe injuries. Now, tune in later on as Michael Shively tells the full story of the disastrous flood, its cause, and what's being done to limit future risk. A southeast Nebraska lake, meanwhile, reeling from a recent fish kill. Hundreds of fish found dead on the shoreline. Jake Bartecki spoke with State Game and Parks and has more.
A lake considered by many a fishing honey hole in southeast Nebraska has recently taken on the appearance of a fish graveyard. Big Indian Lake, about 20 miles south of Beatrice near Wymore, recently saw hundreds of fish wash up dead on shore. Aaron Blank is the Southeast District Fisheries Supervisor for Nebraska Game and Parks. He says an algae bloom due to changing weather conditions is to blame.
What we believe happened was we had that big heat wave that week prior where it was in the upper 90s to 100s and sunny. And so likely we had a really large algal bloom and then followed up by cool temperatures and rain.
On Monday morning, Blank and his team at Game and Parks conducted sampling of Big Indian, which showed a large percentage of the lake's adult fish population is dead. However, they did find at least some adult fish from every species native to the lake, minus saugeye. An even bigger positive, they did find numbers of younger fish, which could be crucial to Big Indian's recovery.
We do have fingerling bass and bluegills and crappies. We saw quite a few adult catfish left in here, so it was bad. I mean, but there's still fish left to start repopulating.
While preliminary results of initial samplings do remain positive for Game and Parks that there are younger fish that did survive the bloom that could lead to later growth, it only begins a long process for the Gage County Lake. Blank recommends the many who frequent this area for fishing might want to look to other options.
Yeah, it's going to be really impacted. You know, I would advise probably looking elsewhere for the next at least year to 2 years. You can think of it similarly to the people who were here when we did the first renovation here. You know, it takes a couple years before you build that sport fish population up to a sizable population that people can fish.
As far as other activities in the water, Blank recommends caution.
All those fish are dying, or they have died, and so there is kind of an oily skein on the water. It's not something I would advise swimming in, but here in the next few weeks, I mean, water quality should be back to normal.
In Gage County, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
It has now been more than a week since 3 Guatemalan families in Crete were shot by a neighbor, leaving them injured and afraid to leave their homes. For this reason, the interim director of the Pishon Ishim Maya community organization is taking the initiative to provide financial and medical aid to the affected families.
Pasando por una fase de saliendo del trauma. El trauma es muy grande, el trauma es doloroso y el trauma tiene muchas consecuencias de largo plazo.
Lopez said that he's aware that there's a GoFundMe page to support the family. However, he explains the families affected by this situation say they prefer to receive help through the Pishon Ishim community organization. All 7 victims of last month's shooting have been released from the hospital. The State Patrol says 74-year-old Billy Booth fired a shotgun from his home before fatally shooting himself. A southeast Nebraska restaurant back in business, sort of. As of Monday evening, the Dairy Suite in Auburn is open for drive-through only. The restaurant had been closed since the 4th of July when it was hit by a vehicle off of Highway 75. Restaurant owners say the SUV knocked entryway framing and part of an exterior wall into the dining room. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Well, the housing supply tight in many parts of Nebraska, and a city in southeast Nebraska studying a way to transform a couple of areas into new neighborhoods. The city of Beatrice held a public open house Monday on the concepts of turning the soon-to-be unused Lincoln and Paddock Lane elementary school properties into new residential areas.
Excellent turnout. You're looking at 2 residential areas that's got a number of homeowners, and I think they all would like to see what we're going to develop on Lincoln and Paddock, and we're thankful for them being here, and we're thankful for their input. I think number 1, it looks more like a planned community where we've taken building a neighborhood rather than just rows and rows of houses. I think number 2, we took in safety when it comes to how we laid out the streets, making sure that we didn't have driveways coming off of Lincoln Street, which is a busier street, and how we've kept the traffic kind of in a cul-de-sac method that should create a safer neighborhood for all.
Mayor Morgan said the low supply of housing is a real issue for the community. He says having more homes to purchase will help the community grow. The shortage of housing, something affecting many Nebraska towns, forcing many employees to not live in the same communities where they work. Well, after 3 different votes, the Hastings City Council hopes they've taken a step to address the city's housing shortage by approving a 44-acre development. Innate Concepts initially proposed a 256-unit housing development to the Hastings City Council on June 10th. The proposal had support, but not enough for the city to waive the rules and pass the request with just one vote. So Monday, the council voted 6-1 with 1 abstention to pass the ordinance on a 3rd and final reading. Developers say they plan to build 11 22-unit apartment buildings, 8 duplex units, and 55 single-family homes over the course of 3 phases. The construction starts this fall. The next class of recruits getting trained to become state troopers, the 70th basic recruit class of the Nebraska State Patrol, began training on Monday at the State Patrol's Training Academy in Grand Island. NSP Director of Training Captain Andy Eklund says it's exciting to watch recruits begin their journey.
It's going to be a long 6 months for them. They're going to be immersed in training every day that they're here. They're going to be spending a lot of time in the classroom as well as participating in multiple scenario-based trainings and practical.
11 recruits are part of Camp 70. The basic recruit camp consists of hundreds of hours of classroom and practical instruction, including lifelike scenarios designed to simulate situations troopers will encounter as they serve Nebraska. Camp 70 expected to graduate this December. And folks at a Northeast Nebraska County Fair got a chance to get their grub on Monday and were able to do so for free. The Dixon County Fair held a free barbecue and ice cream social Monday evening. Now, the fair officially got underway on Monday. That means, or on Friday rather, Monday, the 4th day of the annual event. Still 2 full days to go though, with tractor pulls, animal shows, an auction, a petting zoo, and trophy presentations still to come. And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.